here, and I'm sitting down with Kristen to talk about what's new in the industry and ways to make that social. So, as always, AVRN is our great go-to source for news in the industry. So I just wanted to jump right in, Kristen, and talk about a couple of things I saw this week.
All right.
Alright, so number one on the list. LKQ is extending their promise of protection. What can shops do? How does that play in? Give me a little input.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for that being first off the list, because there are some other things that have come out in the news over the last month that I really don't want to talk about. So thank you, I appreciate that. So LKQ Promise of Protection. So lots of part manufacturers, OEM and LKQ, that disperse either aftermarket, new, or used parts have warranties, and that's what LKQ's Promise of Protection is. It's their promise to the repairers and the insurers that use those parts and warranty them. But the news factor here is that, you guys warranty stuff every day. You warranty paint, you warranty repairs, you warranty customer satisfaction, and you should do a really good job of celebrating that, whether it's through Facebook, whether it's through press releases, whether it's through, inviting the press in to tour your facilities. Be sure that you're celebrating those lifetime warranties that you offer, because for most collision repairs, the lifetime warranty comes from your pocket. There's nobody else there really backing you. You may have a paint company if you're spraying a lifetime warranty product from one of those providers. But for the most part, backing a warranty is out of your pocket. And so celebrate that and make sure people are comfortable with what you're doing.
Sounds awesome. I think that's a great point, Kristen. Anytime you can talk about warranty and the quality of your service, it's always a plus. So, the second thing that I saw this week that I really am curious to know a little bit more about, and I think there's some neat ways that this can play in, is a Collision Repair Education Foundation just announced they have a bunch of new board members, and so I know you have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, it would have been great earlier when I was on the shop working. I had on my Collision Repair Foundation tech shirt, so that would have been a cool thing to talk about in the interview. But yeah, so the thing here for me when I think of news is that every time I go out and meet with a shop and they tell me that they really don't have anything to talk about when it comes to social media, they usually follow it up by telling me all the local boards and committees they sit on. So we have so many people in our industry that are aldermen, or they sit on some committee at their church, or they're a board of the school, or of some sort of charity in their neighborhood. But you guys are some of the best citizens for communities that there are out there, and you're serving in lots of different ways, and you're helping your community in many aspects beyond just repairing cars. So talk about those boards and committees and things that you chair and do. And be sure and share that. It makes people feel like you're more connected to the community and makes them want to do more business with you when they know that you're helping out in other areas.
Definitely helps them relate to you too, so always a good idea to connect in that way. So, alright, so the last thing I really want to talk about today, because I love tech things, I know you're tech savvy, tech guru, but I also know you're an iPhone lover.
I'm an iPhone lover.
And this one's going to shake you up a little bit.
Okay.
Alright, you ready? So Autotext just announced that they have released an Android app for their system.
Well, for starters, put on my to-do list to call Rick Turry. We have to have a conversation about apps, but apps for me are so great. So right now, we know across the country everybody's got an app. There are some services out there in our industry, whether it be bodyshopbids.com and some other companies that'll help you get an app as a shop if you don't have them. But a couple things that I think of when I think apps right now. So number one, if you got one, flaunt it. Come up with some way of promoting it around the city, promote it with your business partners at large. And remember, business partners for you is not just the people that supply your tape and your paint. Sometimes the business partner is the restaurant down the road that you may eat at frequently. So be sure and find ways to promote an app if you've got one. If you don't have one, I'll just put a little button in there and say, hey, you might want to start thinking about building an app, because they really are, going different places. And again, like I said, there's companies out there that are building them in our industry right now that'll help you with that, get you a great app. The second thing I would do with that is that there are some phenomenal apps out there right now that have to do with car care. So there are some apps that help you diagnose problems with your car. There are apps that help you find places when you're traveling. There's an app really for everything. And so when you find apps that assist your consumers in great ways that do or maybe don't apply to the auto industry, then be sure and share those and put them on your page and help people find better ways to live with the technology that they have. And if you become a resource for more than just repair, then you're a resource they're going to trust in general.
Awesome. So one follow-up question related to that, Kristen. You're talking a lot about apps, and one of the things that I want to kind of clarify or talk about a little bit is just the role of mobile when you're connecting with your consumers. Because, I think apps aren't necessarily the only way that you can have mobile access to your content. So, what are some platforms or some creative portals that companies can use to connect with the mobile audience?
To be more mobile. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going to come back to video. Video is probably the #1 thing that you want to be doing right now, and so there's mobile capabilities of that with YouTube and with a few other platforms that are out there. people want to connect with you, and they need to do that through visual and audio. They want to hear your voice, they want to see you, and they want to have some comfort level with you. So, those are some great things to do. But then also just remember that we interact with the internet now in completely different ways thanks to the app involvement. There are apps in cars, so if you ask people to surf webs or do things that we thought 10 years ago were normal, people don't do that. People check their mail with an app now. They check their voicemail with an app. They're not used to accessing things like through a www dot anymore. So
no domain names anymore.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a domain name. You say that, people go, what do you mean? And people, if you notice when you watch advertisement on television now, you don't see web addresses. 10 years ago we watched TV and everything was visit us at www.gohere.com now. So now that's not how we do it. We communicate through social media, we communicate through apps. So you need to make sure that you are communicating the way that your customers want to be communicated with, not just because you fell in love with your website because you created it 5 years ago and spent a lot of money on it, and not because that's your comfort zone. So make sure you're finding them where they are and meeting their needs, not yours.
Absolutely, and remember that your customers have those cell phones in their hands 24/7, so when they're in your shop, they're communicating about you, whether it's through Yelp, Facebook pages, Twitter accounts. So make sure you're having that great customer experience and that you're encouraging your customers to talk about it in real time while they're having that experience. So,
perfect.
Awesome. Always great feedback as usual. ABRN is obviously our source of news in the industry, and we love finding stories there and figuring out ways to make them social. So thanks so much, Kristen. Great ideas.
Yeah, thanks for not asking me some questions. Thanks. We'll see you next time.